Good evening, President Peel, the Board of Directors of the Billfish Foundation, fellow honorees, and guests. Please accept my heartfelt thanks for this prestigious 2014 Rybovich Lifetime Conservation Award, and I apologize for my absence. I'm lucky to be here at 89 years of age, and sadly, all of the officers and the board members who assisted in the formation of the New Orleans Big Game Fishing Club are no longer with us, with one exception, besides old me, and that is Ray Watley, an original board member who now resides in Alexandria, Louisiana. I would like to acknowledge our fellow founders, starting with Paul Coleman, our Rules and Research Chairman, who was the glue that tied us all together, along with our Chairman, Leander Perez Jr., our Vice President General Raymond Huff, and our Scientific Committee Chairman, Holly Halcott. Our founding board members back then included McFadden Duffy, Al Childress Jr., Dr. Benjamin Gore, and our ever trustworthy Secretary-Treasurer, Gordon Hyde. And there is another important figure in the history of our club that I would also like to acknowledge. Our biologist and weighmaster, Joe Yurt, who started with the club in the summer of 1966 and is still with us today, weighing every fish at every tournament at our new clubhouse at Port Eads and providing valuable research data some 48 years later. I would also like to acknowledge our first of many lady members, Carrie Burris, who joined in 1997. Today, the New Orleans Big Game Fishing Club has never been stronger, with over 200 members. Our first meeting was held on May the 25th, 1961, with 50 invited members attending, and the club was incorporated on September the 18th of that year. The objectives and the purpose were to stimulate and encourage the sport of big game fishing in Louisiana's coastal waters, and to encourage and promote the conservation and study of the game fishery, to maintain the ethics of the sport of big game fishing as a recreation and also as a source of scientific data, and to adhere to the rules of the International Game Fish Association. So the club took off and has never stopped. I spent 30 years dragging baits off South Pass and had the privilege of serving as president through all those years. I will always hold fond memories of those times. Fast forward to today, the home port of the New Orleans Big Game Fishing Club remains at Port Eads, Louisiana, which was completely destroyed by Hurricane Katrina and thankfully rebuilt with the hope of local government leadership. I was very fortunate, 53 years after the debut of the club, to be on hand to celebrate the grand reopening this past Memorial Day weekend. Now for a little history and the early and important figure in Louisiana offshore fishing. He was Captain Bob Mitcheltree, a club charter member who, along with Paul Coleman, were the real pioneers of the Gulf fishery. When the Coast Guard abandoned the South Pass Lighthouse Station, Bob purchased a camp there around 1958, and Gulf big game fishing angling was born. For me, the idea of catching a marlin first bit me when I saw a large blue tied across the stern of a 50th era cruiser backing into the dock at Grand Isle Tarpon Rodeo in July of 1958. My buddy and fellow charter member, the late Dale Thompson, and I watched as the fish was weighed in at 463.5 pounds. I was hooked. I said, man, I have to find out how to catch one of those monsters. That was the beginning for me and motivated me to seek out Captain Mitcheltree at South Pass in 1959. Along the way, I met Clyde Hawks, the Childress boys, Al, Joe, and Bill, Holly Halcott, Dr. Jim Burks, Jack Brown, Lee Perez, and General Huff. Yes, it was the start of something big, and I am proud of the New Orleans Big Game Fishing Club today. So, on behalf of all the members and the present officers and board of directors of the club, including our president, Bo Sanders, who has served so successfully for the last 23 years, my sincere thanks to all of you for your years of support. Also, many thanks to all of the 30-plus club members and their wives who traveled to Fort Lauderdale to join me for this honor. And in closing, I want to extend a very special thanks to Charlie Kaplinger for his valued assistance and who scrambled to arrange this video when I only recently learned I could not travel to the award ceremony. I guess it can be attributed to old age, but it sure beats the alternative. So to all, please accept my sincere thanks for this great honor. especially to President Peel, and congratulations to the fellow honorees, C.M. Rip Cunningham and Dr. Julian Pepperell. Good night, good fishing, safe returns, and best wishes for a long and a happy life.